All right, back at it. We're back after a long hiatus due to my ridiculous schedule and family illnesses when you have a toddler. So it's DJ Falling Up G, David, back with best friend Strangled Angles, aka Paul, for another album review. Two in a row here. We're gonna fit in some, or maybe we did. Did we do Magic in between? We might have done Magic in between. I can't remember. I think we might be two album reviews in a row.
I think it's two in a row. Yeah.
But it's been a while. We've had, I think, over a month to stew on this, if not like maybe 6 weeks or something, honestly, since we last streamed. So we've had a lot of time. So we've each been able to give it a lot of spins. We will get back to Magic, but it had been so long that we wanted to talk about this album. We've both been waiting to do it for a while. I think, like, I know I was like, I could have done it 2 weeks ago, but our schedules just we were too busy.
Yeah.
So we're ready. We're ready to talk this album, and it's gonna be fun. So today we're reviewing "You Won't Go Before You're Supposed to" by Knocked Loose, and yeah, we'll kind of start like we'll follow a similar formula-ish to what we did last time, with giving a little background on how we know the band and kind of like where we were at as we approached the album, and then we'll kind of each kind of go back and forth with the track-by-track run through, make sure we covered everything we wanted to say, and give the rating. And so I'll give a very brief preface and then pass it over to you, Paul, for this one. I gave a longer preface with Era, when that was an album that I had like put in the queue and requested for us to review. So with Knocked Loose, we spun the wheel on stream last time. We picked this album, and it was funny. Two heavy albums in a row, and I know those were only two that were on the list. So
Right,
we're looking
right.
like a metalcore album review stream so far. But, so we're definitely taking a break from metalcore after this. But
Yep, yep.
or not the Knocked Loose is metalcore. I don't know the specific all those metal genres that well, but I had never listened to Knocked Loose before, so I had a sense because I'd like seen / heard stuff about them, and I knew they'd been popular. Like I knew they'd had some award-winning stuff lately, so I like definitely knew they were like on the heavy end of the spectrum. Like I was pretty sure I was getting into like heavier stuff than Era, basically. But that was pretty much the extent of it, and was kind of like, all right, let's see what this is like. So yeah, how did you like first listen to Knocked Loose and then this album in particular?
Yeah, I mean, so I've been familiar with them like in the periphery for years, but never like listened to a full album. I had heard singles here and there, and kind of in the past thought they're not quite my flavor of metal that I prefer. But just something piqued my interest about this new one. It was a combination of things. I think I saw the Anthony Fantano, YouTube Needle Drop. I don't know if you're familiar.
Okay, I don't know
He's
what
like
it is.
he's probably the most popular music reviewer on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And he
second to
reviewed
us,
this
but,
album. What's that?
Second to us, but
Right, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, but so he reviewed this album very highly, and I like pay
Okay.
attention to his stuff sometimes. If it's like usually if it's a metal album, I'll check in because I'm always curious what he thinks, because he's not like a metalhead necessarily, so it's
Oh
interesting.
yeah,
to see
that's
him
a fun
review
perspective.
albums.
Yeah.
And then I heard that one of those songs won a Grammy, and I was like, oh wow. Actually, that I might have my timeline mixed up. I might have listened to it first and then they got the Grammy. I don't remember.
Mhm.
But I listened to the single "Suffocate." They had a video for it. It was featuring Poppy, who is another artist that like I always thought it was like a fun gimmick. She's like pretty out there, pretty wacky music. But that kind of like was like featuring Poppy. That's
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
And that song just grabbed me instantly. Just the sheer heaviness of it, and just the I mean, we'll get into song by song, I guess, but
Yeah. Right.
that song definitely like hooked me right off the bat, and I was like, okay, I gotta see what this is all about. And just to start talking about the album a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
on a high level, this album is like, to me, just night and day to their other stuff. Like
Interesting. Yeah.
they've
having no
really
other background,
evolved. It's almost like this is their, like, to make a comparison to August Burns Red, right?
okay. Uh-huh.
This feels like their like constellations, or their leveler, even maybe. It's like they've evolved. They've taken a step forward. They're experimenting a lot more. Even just like the mix, the sound quality is just like way better than it used to be. They've always kind of been a band that's like especially their older stuff, to me, my impression was it's kind of just like heavy for the sake of being heavy, and it's very much like mosh pit music.
Mm-hmm.
They're touring all the time. It would be, they make music to like have a fun
Yeah.
live show and
Mm-hmm.
headbang and whatnot. And that's kind of how I always viewed them in the past without diving too deep. But in my opinion, this album like is on another level from their other stuff, and they seem to be taking themselves more seriously and getting into different lyrical themes. And yeah, so it grabbed me
Yeah.
for
No,
reasons.
and I can definitely resonate with some of the stuff you're saying. Well, maybe like let's jump in. So that's how you kind of came into the album, and then where do you want to start before we just get into like Thirst? Is there anything you want to call out, or do you want to just start going into like the intro?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I could
Which will
I guess I
pretty
could
immediately let me highlight a bullet point as.
go. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was gonna say I could probably like, I mean, I pretty much just talked through my one of my what stands out points. So
Yeah,
um yeah, just to
more
like
experimentation. Yeah,
much more experimentation than their previous work. Every song is brutal, definitely still true. Like they are, it
yeah,
is consistent. There is not a break from the chaos.
yeah.
Well, there's not a long break at least. But
It
um,
depends on your definition of chaos. You could say there's to many
there's
there would be
structure.
no break in the chaos. There's a couple, I don't know, exhales. I don't, how how would
Yeah,
you say it?
right. Yeah. There's not. How about there's not much of a break from the intensity. It's intense the whole
Yeah,
time. It's intense. But and one thing I appreciate about this album, and I mean, kind of this has always been their thing. Like a lot of the songs are really short,
yeah,
but and the album itself, it's under 30 minutes.
yep,
But there's so much packed into them. It's like it could if this
yeah,
album was an hour long, I think I would like it a lot less.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think like
that'll be something we'll talk through. Maybe go a little bit back and forth on. I see your point. They do a lot with a little for sure. I fully agree with that. Like they're and we'll get into track by, but like an immediate one that stands out to me is like couldn't believe I was like Blinding Faith is like that short. It just feels like there's so many cool parts of it, right? Like,
yeah,
and I think you get that benefit. Again, touching on a big theme here, but like we're just going off on it a little bit. Like you get that benefit when you play with the song structure and you're willing to like there were just to like use that as an immediate example. Like I honestly even after like 20 plus listens, like I don't even really know where that song's going when I listen to it. I don't have it fully memorized yet because
yeah,
like I just it's it's so chaotic. It's not the type of music I listen to. Like this album for me was like a shell shocking kind of like experience of like I do not listen to this level of speed and pacing for like
yeah,
this long. Like Era gets this fast for like 5 second intervals or 10-second intervals in certain songs,
right.
but for Knocked Loose, it's like, okay, we're just going this hard, this fast, probably 75+% of the time. So,
Yep.
and like, they're just changing it up within that speed and within that chaos. And it makes, yeah, like a song like Blinding Faith or whatever. It's like, I thought there was a chorus in that song for like 10 listens. And then I realized that part where there's like the little lead guitar part, you know exactly what part I'm talking. They're like, there's like one part where they do fun stuff with lead guitar. I definitely thought that was like a repeated chorus, and then
Yep.
at like listen like 15 or something. I was like, wait, that part never came back around actually. What?
Yeah, right.
So
Yes.
yeah, they just do a lot with a little because they're creative with it and they're willing to be like they use the chorus sometimes. Like I think like it's a great
Yeah.
contrast for like Don't Reach for Me. Like great
Don't reach for
chorus in
me.
that song, and it
Fantastic.
is longer, and they let it
Yep.
like and it kind of feels longer in a way, but also it almost doesn't, because like when you do the verse chorus, like then your brain's used to what's happening,
Right.
so like it doesn't feel long to like do it 3 4 times or whatever. But
Yep.
then when you're doing so many different like parts in a song, like Blinding Faith version, it's like, wait, how was that song 2 minutes and 40 seconds or whatever? Like what the heck?
Right.
There were so many parts that were cool. I still can't keep track of them all. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
really good point.
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of their peers, I would argue, and even their older work too. Like a lot of it is, it's always this fast and this hard and stuff. But I think there's so many so many moments and parts, whether it be a guitar part or a drum part or a vocal part or the little Easter eggs that are sprinkled in of the like weird sample at the end of Take Me Home, and
Oh yeah.
just like little
Yeah.
there's little sprinklings all over the place in this album. It's like they just keep you guessing.
Yep,
They
they do
just like
definitely keep you
and
guessing.
yeah, to me, the replay value on this album is so high because there's just like so few repeated parts, and it's like you've got all these different things that you're like waiting for, looking forward to. Actually, I'm gonna draw maybe a weird comparison, but Sleep Token, very popular band, Sleep Token, um,
Another
kind
band
of
I
on
don't know at all, so.
right, but it'll make sense.
Yeah.
So like kind of on the other end of the spectrum, Sleep Token, for me, like their most recent album has a couple songs that I really like that I think I shared with you. And then a lot of songs that really feel like filler and I don't really care about. And then some of them, though, some of those ones I don't really care about, there's like one part that's really cool. And I feel like I'm just waiting for it every time
Yeah,
I listen
yeah.
to it.
I know
In
those types of
contrast,
songs. Like that was kind of like a Glimpse thing, right? We talked about like how Glimpse had the amazing beginning,
yeah,
but then
yeah,
you're just like, am I just gonna listen to the next like 3 minutes that is like not amazing just because I
right.
like the beginning, or what am I gonna do? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. And Sleep Token is like a big example of that for me of like, oh, I like this one 15-second portion of the song. I love that 15-second portion, but like I have to slog through the rest of it to get to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Whereas like this Knocked Loose album, I feel like I don't get that same feeling of like, oh man, I just have to slog through to get to that one cool part because there's just
Right.
like these little cool parts all over the place in like almost every
Yeah.
song.
Well, and they don't
Uh,
belabor it. To your point, they
right.
like frankly they're just not long enough to make you get
True.
bored
Yeah.
waiting for the good part, right? It just isn't.
Yep.
It's like, how
You don't
long?
have
What are you
time to
waiting
get
for?
bored.
It said 5 seconds. Like, yeah, of course you have to wait 5 years to wait that long to pull the song or whatever.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
So
yeah,
yeah, no, I knew this album would be out of your comfort zone, which is part of why I was excited about it.
yeah, and I'll just do my first bullet point and start. Let's just start doing the track by track. So
Cool.
you get into Thirst, and I was like, I knew this was going to be chaotic, and the opening of Thirst, and I was like, somehow it's even more ridiculous than I could have ever expected. Like, this is how the album opens. Okay, we're just doing this.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, then I wanted to say, like, it is just pure chaos in music form for sure is like what this band is doing. But like really and it took me, I think at 5 listens in, I was still like, and I tried to do this. It's kind of, I think this is just fun to do. I don't know if I'm not saying this is like a more artistic or better way to, I was just like, I'm not looking at track names. I'm just like putting it on. And it was particularly doable with this album because it was like 28 minutes long or whatever. So I could like go for a walk and listen to the whole album and never like pull out my phone. So I could just put it on and just listen to the whole thing. I'm like, I didn't know where the track breaks were. And that was particularly fun with this album, but with the beginning it was particularly hard because they do really cool track blending in this album.
Yeah.
And I love track blending stuff in general, especially when it's not like it's there. There's a way to do it that's like sappy and predictable and lame if you do it in like the same way too many times, or like just do an electronic thing into a different electronic thing that starts the next song, but they're similar. Or like there's a way to do it that's not that fun, and I feel like this is actually one of the best albums of doing it, like where a lot of the tracks blend in a really cool way, but like it's not the same way over and over again at all. It's like different ways of blending.
I totally agree. The whole thing feels seamless. Like it really feels like one big
and that's
piece.
Another one of my points here that I'll just highlight too, that because it like ties in here, like, and this was part of what like made it hard to get to know. Really, it honestly, it's just a really cohesive album. It could just be like one 28-minute song, basically.
Right.
I honestly, when I was like 5 listens in, I was like, is that what it is? I don't even know yet. I pretty much the like 2 songs that stood out on first listen were like, well, we'll get into one of them, but is like the Moss covers all Take Me Home, because it's like an obvious, and it's not even really like a chaos break. That's one of the moments where I was gonna say it's still pretty like chaotic, but it's just like a change in gears of how they're executing it, and Yeah, it still fits the vibe really well, like, and fits the like themes of the emotions and the energy of the album, but it's definitely like a break in the way they're executing it. And then of course the last track is the other time they do that, which
Yeah.
I think the closest all this felt from the closest analog I had to this music, and this is not that close of an analog, but I'm curious if you'll see what I'm drawing upon. And I texted you about it a little bit, because Sit and Mourn is actually close. Is like Zombie 1 Dead Throne era TDWP when they were going hard. Like when Dead Throne and Born to Lose were like in their heavy moments, that's this, but like no breaks, or 90% of it is that, versus like in that era of TDWP that's like 20% is that like pacing, and maybe not even 20%, honestly. You had like Dead Throne title track that was mostly that, but then a lot of the other songs, they obviously have Jeremy like singing choruses and stuff, and then they have some songs that like don't, like Kansas or like Chicago or whatever, that were like no level of that intensity. So very, very different. But like I
can see what you're saying.
Basically, those, I felt like I was like, I would feel snippets of just like zombie TDWP moment or whatever, but then like, oh, but it just keeps going and going. It's too much of it to be that, But that was the closest I could get. But yeah, Thirst is, to just finish my commentary on Thirst.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting opening. I guess it sets the tone. It's definitely not my favorite opener of all time, because it's just, your point about like they clearly are like making music that is like, for like, they want to have that live, like they want to have that energy and that like people moshing and like put that kind of show on. Like I feel like there's some like almost showmanship aspect to some of the music that I think they embrace, that's like kind of fun, where it's like over the top and they know it, and they're not like, you can tell it's like a cheeky version of it a little bit, like, and I somewhat realized that by like listening to a few commentaries and like reactions on some of the songs that I ended up enjoying, and being like, I want to get like a little more of perspective on what other people thought of this, as I've listened to it 20 times now or whatever.
Right.
And I heard some people saying that kind of stuff, and I was like, yeah, I see that. Like, it's pretty obvious they know what they're doing. So.
Oh, they know absolutely what they're doing. One of their most notorious like breakdown call-outs from an old album, like from like 2015, was the infamous "Arf Arf."
Oh.
He literally goes "Arf Arf" in a scream voice, right leading into a breakdown. Now this was 10 years ago, Knocked Loose, but yeah. They definitely like leaned even harder into that, like doing the heavy for the sake of heavy thing.
And what's interesting about it on this album is that like it kind of, and this is where some of the stuff is like, I can both appreciate it, but also, and sometimes I'd like, it's not just appreciation, it's also kind of like, I mean, it's like definitely not my favorite. I'll like put it out there that like this is like not my favorite genre in the world, and it's my first time delving into it. I could get more into it, and I did end up coming to really like this album, but like, I don't have like, it's not like an era or whatever. I know I like love this band, and they kind of have to mess up to make me not like it, kind of thing. It's like, oh, this is jarring. I have to like wrap my head around it. So very different like way of approaching it.
Yeah.
But for me, that like stuff, I have a bit of an appreciation for it, but then also I'm like, this album is so lyrically and emotionally intense that like when there's the gimmicky moments, it's like, wait, what? Like that does not like fit the vibe. And I feel like Thirst is kind of like, just the way it opens, you're like, what? And the fact that the rest of the album ends up being so, and I think like a lot of their points, like I think it's pretty easy for some of these songs to, maybe it's just my own political leaning and emotional leaning as I've grown and stuff, but it's like I resonate with a lot of it. So I find it pretty compelling. But then there's just like the opening of there's just you just screaming for like 10 seconds. You're like,
right.
It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, it's a bit of a curveball of an intro. I will agree with you there. It's definitely not like my favorite track or anything. It's not one that necessarily stands out to me. It definitely sets the tone. It's definitely like,
it's a tone setter. It is a tone
setter. And it in a way it stands out because it's like, oh, this is an intro track because it's only like a minute and whatever.
47.
But I mean, it's like not like any intro track you typically hear, it's like,
it honestly, it gives me like a little bit of Genesis vibes off Northlane's album with Quantum Flux, whatever it's called. I can't think of the name of that album. Jeez, that's ridiculous. Their second Adrian album, that's like that was like kind of their initial super famous album. But Did you? And you listened to that one a little bit, but
I did. Yeah, I'm trying to
if you went
remember
back
that.
and play just after this sometime, listen to Genesis into Scarab. It's like a really good 1-2, and I kind of think Thirst into Piece by Piece is a little bit like that. It's a tone setter in that album. Singularity, right? Is that the album?
Yes.
Yeah, Singularity.
Yeah.
It's like a tone setter. It gets the energy going. I think they execute it better personally, but I think Thirst, I was honestly spent probably like 15 plus, like I honestly spent maybe like 18 listens being like, I'm gonna start out having to be a bit of a downer, being like, I don't like how this album starts, and then like by like listen 22, I was like, I don't know, I don't hate it as much as I used to.
Yeah.
I will pretty immediately call out that like the opening is by far not my favorite part of the album, but
that is fair. I mean, and I agree. I like it.
Yeah,
enough,
I mean something has to be your least favorite. So that's
right.
But like it's definitely like if the quality of the album was the first 2 tracks, and I'm not like that's not hate. It wouldn't have been as good of an album for me, but like it gets a lot better from there in my opinion.
I totally agree. I think if we're going track by track,
piece by piece, yeah.
The intro and piece by piece for me is I like the song a lot.
Yeah, but it's solid for sure.
It's probably like out of the rest of the album after the intro, it's probably the one that stands out the least to me. It's like
I think so.
There's the least amount of just like
if we would pretty
cool stuff going on. Yeah,
because I felt like I said, when I was like 10, 15 listens in, I felt that pretty strongly, and then I like became slightly less sure finally after. I was like, I like these more than I did, but I think track 1 and 2.
Like, funny enough, if I had just seen this album and started it from the top and played the first 2 songs, I don't know that I would have been as I don't know that I would have continued. Like, not that, and I like those songs now, for sure, but like hearing Suffocate as the first one definitely like helped me actually be interested.
Get into it,
and so I mean, Suffocate's, spoiler alerts, also not my favorite song on the album now, but I like it.
Yeah,
it did a lot better job of grabbing me than the beginning of this album did.
Yeah, piece by piece, it like it's like, scale back the chaos a little bit from Thirst, but like still follows up Thirst and makes a lot of sense coming right after it. But yeah, I feel like it's the song that has the fewest, like I feel like every other song after the first 2, like I just frankly just have the least to say about both of them, other than like Thirst. It's easy to kind of talk about because it's such like an obnoxious opener, but then like the way it starts. But like then piece by piece, it's like I have like not a lot to say about it, and that's not because it's that bad. It's just like also not because it's not that good to me. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of unremarkable.
I definitely, if I want to listen to the whole album, I start with Thirst. I don't like start with Suffocate.
Yeah.
So that's should say something, but also I'm gonna be always really excited when I get to Suffocate.
Yep. I agree. I think Suffocate is where things really heat up, and like honestly, for me, Suffocate through the rest of the album, I am just like there's no skips for me.
There's no misses.
I mean, it's hard to have a skip on this short of an album, but still good. But yeah, I don't think there's any misses.
No, there's no misses after that. I agree. It's all much better. Like, whatever. If Thirst and Piece by Piece are like 5 out of 10, 5 out of 10, and then it elevates a lot after that. Whatever, it goes way up in the average, and it stays high. It doesn't like dip back down to that level.
Yep. Let's see.
So yeah, let's talk Suffocate. Or unless, did you have anything else you wanted to say about Piece by Piece?
Not really. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like it's
okay. That was the song I was most like. I just felt like I didn't really know what your pulse was gonna be, and I'm like inclined. I was like inclined to think he's gonna like the same songs I ended up liking a lot. Obviously,
I know it's funny that
we're gonna be like Piece by Piece, huge highlight for me. I'm like, wow, okay. That's like
one of these days.
One
of these days we will disagree, but we'll see how long.
I'm guessing our final ratings on this one will differ, but like I have a lot of background of context on my final rating.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Explain it, but
yeah, no. Like I guess the last thing I'll say about Piece by Piece, I think again amongst their peers, which again I don't really listen to this particular like niche of metal that much, but and it's because a lot of their peers are much more cookie cutter, and I think Piece by Piece would be like a good solid song on a lot of other albums. by their peers. But it just shows how cool the rest of the album is, that this one feels unremarkable. Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. I think I can reveal some of these. What stands out? Oh yeah, let's just talk about the vocals really quick, because I made a point about the vocals.
Yeah, they're an adjustment.
Yeah, it's harsh and angry,
relentless,
and like, but I really have grown to love his vocals.
I'll just highlight my anger point here too to go with that.
yeah, right. Yeah, definitely rage filled. But I mean, and there's moments of other emotions going on. And it's always intense, and I feel like you can feel the intensity in his voice, like much more than. And not to skip ahead, we don't have to talk about this song in full right now, but just to illustrate this point, Slaughterhouse 2, where you get the Motionless in White guest vocalist. It almost feels like a little out of place to me, because that vocalist
is. I can fully tell which parts of that vocalist, but sorry, but keep going.
Oh really? Oh man,
I feel some parts.
It's such a stark contrast to me.
Okay, interesting.
I actually am gonna highlight a small weakness, because for me, I actually don't like that feature very much. If anything, the contrast makes me like Brian's vocals, makes me appreciate them even more. But
wait, is he almost like the second like verse?
Yeah, he's the second verse.
Okay, yeah, I don't love that part either.
He's the second verse, and then they're like going back and forth towards the end.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm pretty sure that's what made it hard. I was pretty sure I knew like a chunk that was his, but then in the back and forth, I'm not always super sure who's saying what.
But yeah, that second verse is completely him, and not that I like hate his vocals or anything, but it's just much more like standard metal growl, and it just doesn't convey the same thing that Brian's vocals do. And I'm not even trying to say Brian's my favorite metal vocalist ever. I just think it fits this music.
I was gonna say
and the lyrical content. I think it just fits really well.
He was made to scream these kind of songs.
Like
with that voice and with the way I'm somewhat assuming he's the main songwriter. You tend to think the person delivering the vocals is the one writing the songs, because they're the ones who has to sing the words.
He is. I've watched some interviews.
Okay, and I mean, you can feel the like emotion dripping on the topics that he's talking about, particularly anger in most of it. Like, that's definitely like the core defining emotion of the album, I would say.
Definitely.
But like it, as can happen with anger, as I've experienced in my own life in certain ways, we all probably have, like, it can wrap into other emotions very perhaps unexpectedly. Like gets in suddenly you're like in sadness, or suddenly you're in like there's like a horror-ish vibe to some of the album, or like it's sort of like this dystopian horror like vibe in some of it.
Definitely agree with that. Well, so I don't know how far you like dove into the lyrics, but
I mean, I like read most of them.
Yeah, I mean it's
take
really
my own guesses, but like enlighten me if you know certain things.
Yeah, I've just I've done that too, and then I've heard him talk about it a little bit. It's really a lot of being angry at his upbringing in the church.
Oh wow, okay, interesting. I could tell there was religious anger. I just didn't know that he was brought up in the church, and that was specific. Like it connects the dots for sure.
And just what that did to him basically, and a lot of the like just it's very relatable for me and you, I think, because a lot of it is just like
viewers. Paul and I can relate with that a lot.
Yep, just the guilt and the shame that the church can leave you with, when in the wrong environment. Yeah, that's like a lot of it. And actually, the album title, this is kind of an interesting little anecdote that I heard on an interview. He was on a plane and was having like borderline panic attack, like just severe anxiety, and he was sitting next to an older woman, and she was basically trying to comfort him through talking about God. And she said, amongst other things, she said, "You won't go before you're supposed to directly to him." And that's supposed to be a way of comforting him, And he was like, that's not helping, you know, like, and that's just, I just thought that was an interesting
Wow.
little tidbit.
Yeah.
That's where that line came from. But yeah, it's very much interesting and relatable, the lyrics. And yeah, I feel like, just to bring it back to the vocals themselves, I feel like it's very emotive. And
Hmm.
also, I think the higher pitch, like, makes it a little easier to understand, at least at some points, than like some more
Yeah,
like
it is
deeper
pretty
metal
easy to
growl.
understand. I didn't feel like I had to, you know, like search too hard to be like, what is any of this song saying? You know, like I felt like
Right.
I understood a lot of
Yeah.
it. And
Which
another thing they do is they pick their spots for the big moments and make it, you know, they like suffocate and the some of the spoken word stuff Poppy does, and then like I don't know, blinding faith comes to mind of like, you know, they have their blinding faith. You're like, I
yeah.
can tell what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, totally. So, okay. Well, yeah, I just wanted to bring up that point.
Hmm. Yeah,
But yeah,
the
we can talk
vocals.
Suffocate.
Yeah. Let's get into suffocate. I mean, pretty immediately enjoyable song for me. Yeah, a little bit. Frankly, like I feel like when I knew that that suffocate was that is like the name of a song I knew, and I knew it featured Poppy, so it was pretty obvious to me which one it was. Like even on early listens when a lot of it was mixing together a lot.
Right,
And,
because suddenly you have a high pitched female voice.
yeah, and it didn't like grab me a lot at first. I would say at first I was like, wow, I'm surprised that's like the hit of the album kind of thing.
Yeah.
Grew on me a bit longer. I mean, I would say for sure. I, I will say like I mean it's such a short song. It's like silly to say like back half of the song, but like the first minute is not like an amazing first minute of a song for me, but like then the next 2 minutes or whatever, like next minute 45 is all really good. Like it might be like around right when Poppy starts, basically, that I think the song
I totally
is
agree
like
with that.
really good.
Yeah. Yeah, Poppy comes in and it just like the
It's an amazing for the rest of the
oh,
time. Yeah.
yeah, I just love. I mean, that is one of the most effective like metal features I feel like I've heard in a while. Like
Yeah.
it just fits so well, and it just brings a whole different dimension to the song.
Yep.
And yeah, just the ending, just the like several breakdowns towards the
The
end are
end
just so killer.
breakdown is amazing. At
Oh
that,
man, so good.
from yeah, like the quality level of suffocate at like as a graph along as the time progresses on the song, it's just like better.
Yep,
Like it just literally
yep.
like the ending breakdown of the like, well, I can't even think of what he says in the moment, but like right now, like but it, you know the part where they swear. I watched the like Jimmy Kimmel live version of it, so the part where they swear stood out to me because I thought it was
Yeah,
funny that
yeah.
Brian like doesn't say it into the mic, but the Poppy totally just says f bomb into
Oh,
the
that's funny.
mic.
Yeah. Did
But
you
yeah,
watch the they were on like Jimmy Kimmel or
yeah,
whatever?
I watched that live performance
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I just wanted to see it. I was like, that sounds hilarious. It was
Yeah,
pretty
it
awesome.
was hilarious. Yeah.
It's really well
Um,
done.
yeah. I'll
Oh,
bring up.
drums. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it definitely is. Suffocate has one of a really fun drum part. Not definitely not one of my favorites. They're coming up later, but
okay. Yeah.
like there's this like reviewers have pointed it out as a reggaeton breakdown, which I wouldn't have identified that, but once I heard it, I was like, okay, I get it. Like almost like a reggae, like uh the part where it's like doom da doom,
Oh
you know, like
yeah,
that little like
yeah. I
it's
know
just
what
like
you're
a
talking.
sudden break of like, whoa, what are we doing? What like we've been doing like blast beats. What is this? You know, and it just like comes out of nowhere, just like totally is just like makes the
Yeah,
whole thing feel different. And I think like
they play with the rhythms. Like
yeah.
I want you can keep going on the drums, but I'll just interject an agreement, and that is like, in my opinion, probably the single biggest strength of the album that makes it. As you continue to listen to it, it just keeps getting more interesting, and it overlaps. It overlaps with the strength of Cure, in my opinion, for me that I said was
Mhm.
which was that it was an album that when I would come, but like in such a different way, so it's hilarious. But like
Yeah.
that was an album that like I just it was lacking the flashy lead guitar stuff or whatever that I wanted with Air, but I loved how like as after a lot of listens and knowing it really well, I just loved how like every song they would change the rhythm. There'd be parts where I loved the rhythm here, I nod my head in this way, and then it changes and it's like faster, and then I'm nodding my head in a different way, and like that's this album, except for like Juice to the max, where it's like they're changing it really quickly. It's not just like that type of like relaxed head bobbing ever, pretty much. So other than that reggae breakdown, I guess, or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
But the like it's just so interesting. You're never just like doing one drum beat for like 20 seconds or whatever ever. Like in the entire album, it's like doing a thing at one rhythm, and then changing how fast, changing the pace, and then a new like way of drumming it too, and then like, and just keeps shifting. And then the vocals also too, like they use the drums are the lead of that, obviously, but like they also use the guitar and vocals to execute that same paradigm in a way. Like,
Absolutely.
Sometimes the vocals are the thing that's like making you bob your head, kind of, or whatever. And even the headbang is like the way he's delivering the vocals, or sometimes it's the way they're doing the guitar. So yeah, keep going on the drum stuff, but I wanted to just immediately like chime in. And that was like, I think my overall 25 listens in, or 20 whatever, like being like, oh, I love how you're just never doing the same thing for an extended period of time.
Totally agree. Like, and a band in this style can definitely fall into just like, okay, constant blast beats, constant double bass spam, and big cymbal crashes, and like, and it can just wash into the mix. And I've definitely listened to plenty of like, years ago when I was listening to a lot more like death metal albums where it's like, yeah, the drummer's going really fast, but I don't really care about any of it. It's not sticking out to me. It's not changing up that much. It's just like fast and hard, and that's it. And that's just the opposite of what's going on here. Like, it's just constantly dynamic and exciting. And and even just the mix itself, I pointed out here.
The
like,
mix is really good.
The tone of the snare. It's
drums
just like
sounds so good.
It sounds like a gunshot. I mean, it's just like it just cuts through. Like it just hits just right. I don't know. And
they mixed
I also
pointed out drums at the front, like, and it needed to be that way, and it's good.
Right. Yeah, I also pointed out, I think it's a wood block. I don't know. It'll come up in later songs, but there's like 3 different songs. Yes. I think it's a wood block, but you probably know the noise I'm talking about.
I knew you'd call that out.
Oh, man. I'm just obsessed so whenever that sound comes in. I'm just like, that's perfect. That sounds so cool.
There's a great sequence in Slaughterhouse 2 with that. Obviously, there's an extended little sequence with it in the column that keeps you awake. And one thing I'll call out about the rhythm stuff, too, and that is because I realized I was wrong. They do actually go repetitive one time, and it feels really special when they do it that one time in Sit and Mourn. It's a highlight when they do it, because you're like, you haven't done this ever. Like the first time listening to the album when it hit Sit and Mourn, I was like, hell yeah, this is my thing. Like here we, and if it was 10 Sit and Mourns or whatever, or even even if like they just put 3 more Sit and Mourns in there type songs and made the album longer, it would like mess with the mojo of the other stuff, and it would make it less special. Like having like one Sit and Mourn and having it at the end, it's a great contrast, and it lets you breathe a little when you need to, but like it's still carrying the emotion of the album.
Totally agree. I think Sit and Mourn is like a perfect closer.
Yeah.
Not to skip ahead.
I mean, we're song jumping around at this point because the themes are making us jump, but like that's fine.
Sit and Mourn, like somehow, even though it's got like still like crushingly heavy riffs in it, contained in it, and vocals, like it feels like almost chill compared to the rest of it.
Absolutely is. Yeah.
It's like relaxing compared to once you've gotten through the first 9 tracks. It's like
it was the song I could digest first listen.
Yeah. It like feels good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Okay, I don't even remember my last point that I had here. Just talking about the guitars.
Oh yeah. They use melody incredibly sparingly, which for music I listen to is a big departure. I'm big on melody, but
and we just talked a bunch about how the rhythm is really what carries everything, and that so to me this is not a negative point. It was just to point out that when they do get melodic, like in Sit and Mourn, like in the pre-chorus to Slaughterhouse 2, there's just like an incredibly like soaring melodic guitar part leading into the chorus, and it just like comes out of nowhere because you've been listening to this album, and you're like, oh man, it just hits when they do pull that out. So
yeah, they do stand out. That's kind of like that little part in Blinding Faith too.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, and I know we can now keep scrolling, so I'll just uncover this point because it's something I've basically already touched on too. But it makes, like, part of what stood out to me with this whole experience of listening to this album was just like, it's crazy how there'd be a lot of people you could like play Era to and play this to that would be like, oh my god, they're both just like the same heavy music, like
right, yeah.
But like they are so different.
Yeah.
And then the fact that even like, I already called this out, but like, even the fact that like what I think is like the biggest strength kind of both as albums is like overlaps. They still execute it so differently. It's just so cool. Oops, bumped my mic. It's just so cool that music can do that. Like, oh yeah, I mean these are like technically for a lot of people. I'm not even gonna attempt to like say what genre Era or Knocked Loose is because I know there's so many genres of metal and that people like.
Yeah.
It's an area that people like to genre police more than others, so I'm just not even gonna pretend I did. But they're definitely not the actual same genre, but like they would be categorized as the same by a lot of people who you know like don't listen to the music. But
yeah,
so it's cool that like when you really get into this kind of music, there's this different of a way to do it, and you can be that talented and like execute something really well. That's even like a same like aspect of making the music special, and it's still like nothing alike. So
right.
It's just so cool. Yeah.
No, that's a really great point. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I think they probably both would be categorized as metalcore. They're just like totally different flavors.
I was gonna say, like that's how I would describe them because like I describe most like heavy music that I listen to as that, but I'm probably wrong about a lot of it at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Knocked Loose takes a lot of influence from like hardcore, like, you know, more old school stuff that was more like yelling and less metally, but they're definitely a metal.
They definitely are metal, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think
this line I put in here, I was just rereading this bullet point to make sure I encapsulated it. Like I think this line, like the pacing and execution of each instrument, including vocals, are truly like nothing alike. You know, between Knocked Loose and Era. It's just so cool to experience that. And yeah, this was like a unique sonic experience. Like, and certainly there's other Knocked Loose out there. There's other bands like this, but for me, this was like a true unique experience. Just being like deep diving into this album, and I got a lot out of it. So yeah,
awesome. Glad to hear it. And yeah, I totally agree. It's very. It's just crazy how different two quote unquote metalcore bands can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally different experience. Okay, what song are we on?
We're on Don't Reach For Me, and the kind of just track by track run through.
Yes.
So I don't know, take us away. I think I kind of started Suffocate. So what do you think?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Don't Reach For Me. I love Don't Reach For Me. I love the use of a chorus here, which is like a funny thing to say, but as we've been talking about,
it's great that they have a few with choruses.
What's that?
I was just saying, I agree. It's great that there's like a few with choruses, like
right. Yeah,
pleasant to be mixed in.
Yep. Yeah, and you know, I'm an eternal lover of weird song structures, and you know, I'm usually like screw verse chorus, but lots of times it's an album with a bunch of verse chorus, and then there's a couple songs that are like different. And you're like, ooh,
yes,
but
exactly.
it's like the reverse on this one. There's a couple verse chorus songs, and you're like, ooh,
yeah,
okay.
It's great. I think it's just a great, you know, like it's a great, like demonstrating that balance is just good. Like there's no right way to do it, but when you do it all one way, yes, then it feels stale, and you eat all the same food when you do the same work every day, when you listen to the same type of song every time. You know, it's like, yeah, it turns out then it gets stale. And like with the unstructured songs, it's easier for it to not feel stale, but it's also easier for you to just get to the end of 10 unstructured songs and be like, it just feels like you're just blowing in the wind, you know, you're just like going everywhere. It's just grounding to have a few moments of repetition, a few moments of like more familiarity of song structure.
Definitely.
Inject a little bit of melody. Yep.
Yeah, Don't Reach For Me. Yeah, I think it's a very effective verse chorus structure. My favorite part is definitely after the first chorus when it goes into the like, you know, the guitar goes away for a minute, or not an actual.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like drums and bass and vocals.
That part is awesome.
Oh man, it's just super groovy and just like so cool. Yeah,
they do a lot in that song, and it's a great. It's like shows you they're kind of doing verse chorus, but they're still doing it in a way that's like it's not just the same verse, right, or whatever. And it's not just
Yep. They still throw some curveballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. They're still like giving you some like surprises here. So
Yeah, for
love
sure.
it. Yeah. For me, Don't Reach For Me is the highlights weren't the easiest to pick, but Don't Reach For Me makes the cut as like I made myself pick 4 highlights. Like I was like, I can't put more than that, like especially on such a short album. Like,
Yeah, I probably put. How many did I put?
it's okay
I guess
though. Yeah.
Let's see. I
mean, it's just we already.
put 5. Okay,
We
I
already
put 5.
talked about collectively how once it's past the first 2 songs, we love the rest of it. So it's all kind of like it's not like me excluding one of the others from this list. They're all really close, I would say, in quality. But Don't Reach For Me makes it. I love the use of the chorus here, and I love like you said, there's just really fun parts. The breakdowns are all really good in it, and like the lyrics just.
Oh wait, I picked
really
6. I lied. I picked 6. Sorry. I was like, wait a second. Where's Sitting More?
Yeah, it's just like the whole album.
Yeah, just picked more than half the album as the highlight.
Well, yeah, especially because one of the ones you picked is actually 2 of the songs. So
I know.
7.
It's okay. It doesn't get. It's fine.
Oh wow, the one you left off is surprising. We'll get into that. Okay.
I mean, because I just had to cut it off somewhere. I already put too many on there. Yeah.
You basically put the whole thing after Pete.
Yeah. I mean, because really, like, and I'll say this before we move on. When I start with Suffocate, it's really hard for me to stop listening to
it. It just flows so good, dude.
It just flows so well. It's it's fast. It's time-wise, it's fast. Yeah. Like, and it just I feel like I have to just keep going. It's
no good endpoint. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Next we get into Moss Covers All Take Me Home, which I'm just gonna get this over with at the start, okay? You're a 28-minute album. You don't need a 45-second song that is literally a part of the other song. Who would ever be like, you know what, I'm teeing up Just Take Me Home. I'm skipping Moss Covers All this time.
No. No,
who would ever
heresy.
See up Moss Covers All and be like, I skipped the next part?
It flows right into it with the same like eerie guitar part.
I can't even give it credit for being cool to reuse the guitar part because it should just be one song. Okay, had to say it. It's a 9-song album. I was gonna say it at some point.
Yeah, no,
they might have had
totally
a cute
agree.
artistic reason that if they explained to me, I would say that actually is cool. But you know what? I don't know it right now, so dumb.
I haven't heard it either. I mean, the music video that they have for that song is Moss Covers All / Take Me Home. It's not like it's just Take Me Home. Like they really are one piece of music. I'm not sure what made them want to break it up.
And the biggest reason why it's a pet peeve of mine is because then if you like, let's say it's your favorite, okay? Like you can't just put that song on a playlist to shuffle because it's 2, and that drives me crazy. That always drove me crazy about the 2 Relient K ending songs on Forget Not Slow Down. Just make it one song so somebody can get it on a shuffle as one song.
That is very true. For that
never
specific
connect
reason.
it on a playlist and get it in a shuffle if it's 2 separate songs.
That reason does make it actually annoying.
I like being able to put songs I love on playlists of other songs I love and shuffle them.
Right.
So there we go.
I agree. It feels silly. I'd be curious. I haven't heard a reason, but I would be curious to hear like the band's reasoning for breaking it up. But it definitely feels like one song, and it's my favorite. It's my favorite portion of the album.
It was my favorite for quite a while. Well, I think other than Sitting More, and those were like my 2 favorite of the album for a long time. And then the more I got into the other stuff, I got more into the other stuff. But I do really like. I mean, it's such a important part of the album because it's definitely like an album that's chaos. Moss Covers All Take Me Home. Got to put 2 song names, goddamn. And then Chaos and Sitting More. Like those are your like 2 moments to breathe, and they're different versions of moments to breathe. But those are your 2 times to like have a break from just relentless pace and screaming.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really good like halfway point, checkpoint kind of thing. Yeah. the intro, the way it starts, the
Mhm.
Moscow All portion, it's starting off as like you think it's gonna be just another banger, and then and then suddenly this like eerie
Yep.
guitar lick comes in, and you're like, "Ooh, what's going on here?" And I also really like it's actually the guitarist doing those like super deep growls. Um,
Mhm. Yeah,
that
I know
that
he's the I noticed that in the live version that he's the one that does
Yep.
like the deep voice.
Yeah. The lead singer is only that
That
one
one
tone, pretty much.
it's kind of
Yeah,
monotone actually. Yeah.
yeah, it kind of is, but I really like it. But yeah, so I think those vocals are a really effective contrast here, and but yeah, just the way that eerie guitar lick thing turns into "Take Me Home," and just like you get this like little buildup of the like drum, the rim shots, the little clickety
Yep.
clacks,
Mhm.
and then you get the spoken word, and just
Yeah, the
it's like
spoken word's
building
great.
and it's
You
building,
just
and you're
don't
like,
know where
let's
it's going, which I love.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then like, God, just when the vocals come in, like I just get chills like pretty much every time when I listen to that. Like when they first come in, and it's just like
Yeah.
super groovy. The drums are going nuts. You got the wood block going in the background, and just like the lyrics of the like, I'm actually just gonna read this
Oh
line.
yeah, I never
It
wrote those
always
lyrics
like
actually.
hits me. Just the pull me back from all the darkness, the pain that sets and stains the heart. I thought I could run. I'm not as strong as I thought I was. And just like, man, when he sings that, I'm just like, just feel like you feel that
Yeah, that
in
part's really good.
the way he sings it. It's just like, yeah, it's just perfectly executed. Really conveys the emotion, and yeah, and I like the way that's like the big release. The vocals come in after that build up, and then the rest of the song kind of like feels like it's
Yeah.
rocking back and forth almost, and then it
Mhm.
ends with that like old timey sample,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is out of left field, but it feels right at the
It
same
does
time.
kind of. Well, it kind of gives it a little post-apocalyptic vibe. I don't know. You feel like you're
Yes,
like in Fallout world or something. I don't know.
I could totally see that. Yeah, very Fallout vibes. Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, this is my
it's
favorite
really
song.
good.
It's so good.
Yeah, that's unsurprising that that would be high on your list for sure. And that was I. There were points where I kind of wanted to text you, but then I was like, we should. I like it's funny doing these reads. It's like we're gonna talk about it for 2 hours or whatever. Might as well save it for the conversation. But yeah, that definitely for like the first 10 listens for sure. It was like, so can't wait for Sitting Bored. Can't wait for like that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That and then oh, what the funny part is, I told you I didn't look at the song names forever. I
All
was
right.
probably like 9 listens in, and I was like, I can't believe I just literally can't think of what a song. I was like, when I finally read the track list, I was like, I can think of what all these songs are, but there's just an extra one in here somewhere. And I was like, what is the extra song? And then when I finally figured it out, then I was just like, that's gonna be like a 1 minute rant on the street.
Yeah, the stupid Moscow
Like
Result intro.
not any amount that would impact like the rating of the album or whatever, but just like a minor artistic choice that I disagree with strongly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's funny too that we just came from an album that had the same thing
Yeah,
with
we complained about it
the
on
era.
that too. Yes, we did. It's like, don't let
Yeah,
me listen to the intro of the song with the song on a shuffle.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, and you don't have to agree as much with me, but that's my point. It's like that I just never put Wishing Glimpse on a shuffle playlist.
Right.
I
Yeah.
made my
Yeah. I would.
point.
Not, I wouldn't want to. I would never want to listen to either half by itself. It
Yeah,
is one
right.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I love it.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
great.
great.
It's a
It's
great
really good.
one song.
Yeah, like we've said, it's all just like really good from Suffocate on. So
Yeah,
then we get to Slaughterhouse 2, which is a banger.
definitely
A
banger.
pretty clear banger. It stood out to me. It was easy to remember with the Slaughterhouse line at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, another good one that like has a good chorus that like helps it just stick in your head and be like, oh yeah, this is like catchier than the average one, and
Yeah.
but
Definitely.
also still has like its fun, big, heavy moments. Yeah, I should just probably uncover. At this point, I can just uncover my highlights. because like I've already talked about Sit and Mourn, and now we're gonna be talking about the next two here really quick. But yeah, I really like Slaughterhouse 2. I felt like after a while, I felt like I had to do my homework because I was like, it's probably like when I was over 15 listens in, where I was like, okay, why is it Slaughterhouse 2? Is there a Slaughterhouse 1? Looked it up. Yes, there is just Slaughterhouse. So have you listened to Slaughterhouse?
I have, but it's
a lot different of a song, but a lot of the lyrics are kind of reused. So in some ways, I was like, oh, they like some of these lyrics that I thought were so cool were like already in another song. That made it like a little bit of like a, I don't know, disappointment's not the right word because not like I care that much, but I was like, oh, they weren't like as creative this time around because they were already used before.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I think I listened to it literally once a while back.
Okay, but like the overall structure of the song is completely redone. The other one has a clean vocal chorus. Slaughterhouse 2 is way better in my opinion, personally.
Well, because Slaughterhouse 1 was a Motionless in White song featuring Brian Garris.
Yeah.
From Noctilus, as opposed to it being a Noctilus song featuring Motionless.
Yeah, the Slaughterhouse 1 version, which I think is just Slaughterhouse, like that one, it's like fine. I would like never consider it like that exciting of a song. But it does still have some of the fun lyrics. The part that is like, it honestly might be my actual favorite moment of the album, and I think it might be the other screamer. I love the line, and the delivery is honestly like one of the best deliveries for what he's saying. Is the one mutilation under God. Is just,
that is a good line.
Spoken with such disgust.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just like fits it just feels so fitting in the whole Trump era and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spitting that from the mouth. So
no, that's that is definitely a great line, and I'm pretty sure that is the other vocalist. But no, it's a great song. Yeah, the main things I wanted to call out were the like pre-chorus guitar riff that gets really melodic and is unexpectedly just awesome, and then it just never comes back. It's not in the second pre-chorus.
Okay, I honestly feel like I need to read the lyrics. What part is that?
It's right as it's leading into the first chorus.
Okay, I'm gonna have to listen to it after I get off this.
But yeah,
if you just think of that exact moment. There's one of those woodblock parts like in this. I don't remember exactly what it's like in the second verse somewhere, I think. But there's a part that's like a really cool rhythm section in like the second verse, I think.
Yeah. Well, I also love the. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah, that part.
Let it go.
Yeah, that part's super cool. Yeah. The little like muted guitar thing.
Oh yeah, it's strumming. Maybe it's not the woodblock. Yeah, it's the strumming.
Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah, I think it's just like muted guitar strings. Yeah. I think is what they're doing there.
That's what it is. I was getting it mixed up with the woodblock. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, that part is super cool. Yeah. My only like very very minor complaint with this one is the like very very end. It's just like a super indulgent breakdown.
It's very
like
indulgent, but it almost kind of feels fitting. I don't know.
It fits, and I'm not actually mad at it. It's just like it's like bordering on cheesy for me. Bordering, not quite there, but
I think it's fair to call it cheesy, but like to still think it's like justified cheesy to some degree, which is what I would say that's like kind of how I feel it is. I think there's a couple things that go into it for me. One, it's like a sequel to another song, which is in and of itself just like cheesy. Like so, like
True.
the nature of the song is cheesy, but like it's still just a really good song, so it's like forgivable in that way. And I think that's kind of like then with the breakdown, it's like the whole theme of the song is so angry and like class warfare. Let the roles reverse. You won't survive in the slaughterhouse. And then the whole like one mutilation under God. Yeah, like. It just
that is an icon.
They're making a point, and they're not trying, and in such a way that I think is like the point they're making. You could argue, I think there's room to disagree here, but like it's just a point that's like we're not masking this at all. We're making it, and we're making it with like this over-the-top breakdown to show that like that's how much we mean it. Kind of, we're not trying to like hush it in. There's like, oh, if you listen to these lyrics in this one verse that are fast, you could catch this one line where they say one mutilation under God or whatever. Like
right. No, it's super like, clear and pronounced.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why it's like to make a point in that way, and the point they're making, it's gonna like to some degree necessitate some cheesiness, and I think. That's okay. It's like it becomes then a feature instead of a bug, if you will, in a way.
I can get behind that for sure. Yeah. Oh, great song overall. Definitely check out that opening.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll
first
check that out
guitar
after.
riff.
Yeah,
It's just super
'cause I can't
cool.
think of that.
It's a great just lead into the chorus, the first chorus. And one of those, few like very melodic guitar moments.
Yeah. Yep.
But it's only there for a blip. Blink and you'll miss
Yeah.
it.
Well, and then now we're very much in the thick of like you can't stop once you've started this train portion of the album.
Right, exactly.
And you get to the column that keeps you awake.
Yeah,
Which I always thought for sure you'd have this one as a highlight.
I love this song. Yeah,
It's
this
such
is
a like rhythm.
probably my second favorite. Yeah, this one like gets stuck in my head actually all the time.
Yeah. Back half
yeah.
of this one's especially good for me. I feel like
yeah,
this is one of it's a little bit like Suffocate for me, where I feel like the first half is like good, but I'm like it's not a highlight. But then like the back half is like, oh, that part is awesome.
the back half is incredible. I think the front half is a highlight too. Personally,
Yeah.
I love the intro and just the pulse
good.
of the song with the wood block. My favorite.
Yeah,
The wood block is all over the place in this one, and just like it just adds so much character and uniqueness to the sound. And I just love how they bring it back in the chorus, like that. The opening like rhythmic part is like what's going on in the chorus too. It just I love everything about this song. It's great.
Yeah, it's a good one. It was one of the tough cuts.
Yeah, I should have narrowed mine down more.
no, I mean it's reasonable. Honestly, I like that you have that because it's representative. That like mine is a little like basically was the version of like putting the back 8 songs of the album, being like I'm making myself pick 4 because otherwise what am I doing? But it feels justifiable to basically be like, well, it's like what if you cut off the first 2, which aren't even bad again, but if you cut off the first 2 just because that's the least good, you cut off another 5 minutes from the album. It's like 23 minutes is all the like stuff that's like you start Suffocate and you're like you can't end. You gotta just keep going through it all. It's just all so good. Yeah, and totally. I love the transition. So like I feel like the last like minute of the column that keeps you awake into Blinding Faith is that might be I had to pick like my actual favorite moment of the album. I know I said the one Mutilation Under God. That's my favorite like 5-second moment. But like maybe my favorite like 2 minutes would be like the last like I don't know 40 seconds or something of Calm, maybe minute even of Calm That Keeps You Awake into like the first minute and a half of Blinding Faith. Blinding Faith doesn't end super strong. I mean mostly like the Blinding Faith like intense ending is just like jarring. It's like I kind of get it, and like again I would say it's another moment of like pushing it to like the point of like the max of the point you're making. It's like borderline cheesy or whatever, but it like also fits, so I like don't hold it against them. It's just not like the strength of the song. But like the first minute and a half of Blinding Faith is just, it kind of just encapsulates what's good about the whole album for me. Is it's just like super unpredictable. All the different rhythm sections are sweet. The one little part of guitar of melody is like sweet.
Yeah.
It just, the like opening riff, it's just so unique, but like gets stuck in my head. Just the rhythm of it, and it just feels creepy and unnerving.
Yeah, totally agree with the creepy and unnerving. Yeah.
I gotta text. My wife just texted me. Oh, okay. I needed to see what she said. We're good. It's like I need to know if I need to do something tonight because I wasn't planning on doing anything else.
Oh yeah. If you need to.
No, she's back and just said that she's gonna just chill for the rest of the night.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But yeah, for me that's like, so I basically picked the like Blinding Faith half of like as a highlight of that section of the album to put on my list here. But like Blinding Faith I love. I know it didn't make your list, but like I know that it's in there with them. It's super good. It's just really dynamic. It's such a good example of a song for me as someone who just like loves music and loves when it's creative and interesting. It's truly a song that you start it, and then once you get to like the second time he says Blinding Faith, where it's like the scream and it's like screeching and it's just slowing down and the song's basically ending, that up until that point from the start of the song, it's like it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's never boring. It's always interesting. It's always doing something cool. And it's all just good. different stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that is like a great portrayal of a lot of the album. A lot of this, these 8 tracks after the first couple.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, that's a good summation. And yeah, I don't know. It's interesting that I didn't necessarily call out. I wasn't going to call out that portion, but now that you're bringing it up, it's like, yeah, that portion of like end of Calm That Keeps You Awake into Blinding Faith is really
Like if I had to pick the most like can't skip, it's like you have to listen to that transition. It just flows into that beginning
Yeah.
of Blinding Faith. That's a great moment of like I wouldn't have known it was like I think that's one of the parts where I didn't know it was 2 songs for a super long time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, especially they're both like, a couple minutes.
Yeah,
or
they're both short, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, well, Sit and Mourn.
Sit and Mourn. We've referenced it a lot, so I probably don't need.
Yeah, we've kind of already talked about it.
Super good closing. Really blends again with like the vibe that you're feeling at the end of Blinding Faith, and it really takes the like what has become. You start with anger and chaos. You reach a peak of fury and Don't Reach For Me for sure. That is like the angriest song.
Mm-hmm.
But Slaughterhouse, and then you get like a little break. But then Slaughterhouse 2 is like second angriest song maybe.
It's pretty damn angry.
And
yeah.
then it gets, and then you're like kind of flow a little more into like despairing. Still, but like despairing and like, yeah, I don't know. That's the best word I can think of. And then it flows into Sit and Mourn, where it feels like you kind of exhale a bit, and you keep some of that despair, but you kind of open it up to reflection. I don't know, it just feels like the emotional journey really like it culminates it and draws it to a close and doesn't leave you. Like the album just could not end on like Blinding Faith or whatever. Just like energy wise, like it just they did. I mean, it could if they were like if they designed it poorly, but like the fact that they draw it to a close with Sit and Mourn, it just really like pulls the energy to a good stopping point and leaves you reflective and gives you a way it like, translates from the chaos into just more of like that like slower riff, still heavy, still fits with what the album's been doing, but like slows it down, gets your pulse a little closer to normal and everything,
Yeah, right.
It's so good.
No, I totally agree. They nailed the closing of this album. It very much could have just been another metalcore banger on a different band's a peer's album or whatever, but they're going for a feeling and going for like so many intense emotions in this album. It's like you had to have some reprieve at the end, and it just it fits really well. And we're talking about reprieve and all, and it's an exhale and all this stuff. There's still some awesome guitar riffs,
and the riffs are awesome
in the beginning parts, and and like the the somber like opening little lead guitar. I love how it opens with that, and then it like goes into a pair of guitar riffs back to back that are just like sick, and then those guitars are like silenced when the vocals come in, and now we're back to the opening guitar lead behind the vocals. I love that composition, just the way they structured that. And then of course the back half of just the what song did we compare it to? Kansas, right? TWP.
Just feels introspective. It gives you room to breathe and think when you need it after that album.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
it's a great closer.
Yeah, love it. I really have no complaints about it as a closer. I think it's a like perfectly executed closing song.
Yeah. So I'll just kind of finish with my like second strength bullet point here, drawing the album to close. Like I feel like it's getting to know the record for me. It's what started it. It's funny. Like I would say when I was like 7 listens in, maybe I was like, this is gonna be a hard review. Like I'm gonna be like, this is just all noise for me, But I was like, I gotta push through it. I was like, is it gonna break? Like when is it gonna break? When is it gonna break? It finally did, as often happens. I'm a slow digester of music though. Like I feel like I could listen to like an era album probably, and be like 5 listens in and be like, all of it sounds the same to me still. Like I just feel like like when I listen to people who do reaction videos and they like hear a song once and analyze so many things they liked about it, I'm like, I feel like I don't notice that much about songs the first listen. I don't know why. I'm just trying to keep up. So
First listen is tough. I mean, I agree. I feel like I've gotten better over the years about, or not better, just different.
You can like digest it more probably.
I think I could digest it faster than I used to be able to. It used to be like, if I haven't listened to an album at least 10 times, which, I mean, that is what we picked for these reviews, but like, I don't even know the songs at all, you know? Like,
yeah. No, I mean, it needed to be a lot more than 10 for me for this. Like,
yeah.
Fortunately, it facilitated it by being 30 minutes long. But yeah, I think I easily cleared 20. It was such an easy album to just be like, especially because I had a point where I just got really into it, and then it was like, well, I'm throwing it on, and I'll just play through it easily, like, and then it'll finish, and I'll go do something. I'll be like, yeah, I guess let's put it on again. Yeah,
right. Yeah,
I can listen to it twice in like 2 hours with other stuff in the middle that like, because it just fits into that like the time. So, but yeah, I feel like this album, I don't know, it's honestly hard to think off the top of my head to think of an album, and I don't know if you've watched Parks and Rec and like appreciate Ron Swanson as a character, or if even if you don't, this quote will make sense.
I know Ron Swanson's character, but I haven't watched it. Yeah,
he's just like pretty hilarious, and it's just like he's just very like has his personality traits and is incredibly rigid in them, and he has like a quote where he says, "I know what I'm about, son." Where it's like it's like when he's at breakfast with Leslie Knope, like the Amy Poehler's lead character, and he like orders like a platter, and the guy's like, "That's a party platter. It's meant to serve up to 20 people." And Ron Swanson just goes, "I know what I'm about, son." Puts away insane amounts of breakfast food. But I feel like this album, like, there's definitely other, like, I'm not pretending this is like the best of all time, but like I can't think of one that's like maybe nails that like vibe as much as this album, like off the top of my head, of another, you know, like things like Forget Not So Now come to mind, where it's like had a very clear sense of purpose and like absolutely like charted a journey that matched that purpose and like executed it to perfection. But like, yeah, this is up there with the best of any album I've listened to, of just like, it knew what it wanted to do, it did exactly that, nothing more, nothing less. I put here, yeah, exactly. Like they didn't like let there be any filler.
No, yeah, I totally agree with that. This is like the furthest thing away from a collection of songs. It really feels like one big piece.
It feels like one 30-minute song.
Yeah, one 27-minute 34-second song. That's the actual runtime. 27:34. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's a great point.
On a headbang, there will be no
Yeah. I mean,
it's bobbing the head, banging the head.
Yeah, it's a great, running song. It's a great, a running album rather. A lot of this stuff
we touched on that.
No filler. Every song flows seamlessly into the next. Similar point to what you said. Yeah, the instrumentation is just amazing throughout. I'm obsessed with this drummer now.
Yeah, the drumming is really good.
I mean, all the guys are great. They're all doing.
No,
really
drums
cool.
probably stand out the most though. Yeah.
But I think the drums.
In terms of like, just because they're playing kind of the lead role, I would say, in terms of driving the music. It'd be like saying, the thing I'm most impressed by of era is the drums, right? Like nobody would ever say that. They'd pick Jesse's guitar, right? It's like it's what's like leading the music in its direction. So.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So these weaknesses, I like to. It's obvious that I liked the album. So I'd say these are the things that I think this album for me, this will like now preface and ultimately explain like the rating I gave it. I think the trickiest thing with this album for me to like come to try, kind of like digest and understand after the journey I had with it is like, when will I revisit it? What will make it? What, if anything, will make it like an album? And I'm trying to remember what we like put our rating scale here, but it's like a 3 stars, a good album with certain enjoyable elements, also notable flaws, gaps in quality or creativity leave them to some degree leave some degree of disappointment. Okay, that's an interesting way of wording. Very strong album. The 4 stars, very strong album, likely in the running for album of the year. Few if any true weaknesses, but lacks something extra to differentiate it from other great listens. Okay, maybe I need to change my rating a little bit. But anyways, I think like what I struggle with the most with this album is I don't listen to music like this hardly ever. Like I have times that I listen to like metalcore with melody, which is when I work out primarily. Like that's my favorite type of thing to listen to when I work out. And typically the things that like get me going when I work out is like melody driven parts or like really cool guitar driven parts, and this has a few of those. So like I could see maybe some of this getting into those types of playlists or something eventually, but like as of now it like doesn't perfectly fit like the type of thing that typically like gets me going to work out. We'll see.
That's fair.
That's definitely the closest thing it fits into.
It definitely, if you're, you know, if you're really getting into the immersive elements of this album and the lyrical content and stuff and some of the feel, yeah, I could see how that would be kind of not like workout feeling. But I don't know. Sometimes I'd put this thing on when I'm just, you know, working out, walking, whatever.
Oh yeah, and I can see it being a good workout album for some people. It's more just
if you're not totally getting into the lyrical content and stuff like that. It's still just got you know, amazing riff after drum part.
It packs a punch.
But
so it could fit in there.
I see what you're saying though. I see what you're saying though.
It like I think for me it basically like there was no like 1 or 2 songs that I think were such good songs that like I will for sure always go back to this album to like always want to listen to that song or something. Like Era has you know, Expiate or whatever, where it's in like Dementia, where like the early Era songs were like I knew no other Era, but I was gonna like want to go back and listen to those songs. Currently, there's no songs that are that level for me. It's also like this is truly a time of like this is the first times I've been listening to this album. I don't know what will grow into that or not quite yet, but so far I don't like know that anything will.
Right. Yep.
So. Yeah, I think for me the tricky thing is just the combination of like it doesn't fit into a box of what I typically listen to right now and doesn't have clear highlights that I will like for sure go back to. So I don't know. And then also I put here like a true, you know, I think this is sort of like this a little bit goes hand in hand with this bullet point. To be clear, it's sort of like 2 sides of the same coin, right? Like clear sense of purpose. They do exactly what they mean to do. Also, they only do that thing that they exactly meant to do, right? Like, It's a one-trick pony. If you're not in the mood for this, you're in the mood for none of it at all. And like, I would say that I'm in a season of life where like I indulge this type of mood at times, but also like I'm trying to like be at a very stable and upbeat emotional place a lot. Like sometimes you don't care what the music is gearing you into in your life because like it just doesn't matter and you just want to feel what you're like feeling in the moment. Sometimes you're like I have a lot of expectations on me right now or whatever. I like it doesn't help the scenario of my life to like put myself in a down mood, right? Like I need something that like if anything is going to do the opposite, and I'd say I'm like in a season of life where that's the premium for me right now is like stuff that's gonna like uplift me and give me like some confidence, give me some swagger of just like good attitude is like gonna be stuff that I'm revisiting more because that's the type of stuff I need to be juicing myself with right now. So like these are just painting the picture of why this album is like it's not fitting into like a clear like replayability box for me right now.
That's fair.
And then the shortness, you know, I put this as a weakness. Again, it's tricky with the strength, 2 sides of the same coin thing. So this is all like a lot of caveats. None of this is stuff that like makes this album bad for me. It's just the stuff that like is a limitation in some way. Is like I do think if you love the album and it stops 28 minutes in, like it's possible to make an album that you love that stops when you're 10 minutes more into it, right? Like it is possible. Like we've seen bands do it, Ryan Kay do it.
Or 30 minutes more.
We've seen do it, and I'm not saying it is like there's no right length for an album, but I think the extent to which it is short, I can't see it quite as a strength. It's more. I would say it is somewhat a strength, but it's more a weakness than a strength because it did let me just like play it on a walk and listen to the whole thing, but like. Okay, I love the like 28 minutes of it now, but like now that's all I get. Yeah, so I think it's sort of like a bit of a strength, slightly more of a weakness than a strength is the fact that it's so short. It's like one of the shortest albums I've ever listened to. I can't think of any shorter that are like true full length albums. So
Yeah,
those are my
definitely
bullet
pushing
points of
the
like
limits of,
weaknesses.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was kind of stretching a little bit for weaknesses. But yeah, I mean, I put the motionless feature. That's like so minor.
Yeah,
It's
and
really
that
just
would be like if I
it's
actually put my track thing.
yeah.
Track.
It's really just the one verse that I don't love either because I love the one mutilation under God line too, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the motionless guy singing
I was
it.
gonna
So
say
it's
when
not
that was what when you said you didn't like the
yeah
motionless feature. I was like, I'm pretty sure that line is the other guy.
yeah.
That's like
No,
such a good
it's
part.
mostly just that second
That
verse.
is probably my least favorite part of the song.
Like when he first comes in, it's like a little jarring and like, okay, didn't love that, but whatever. But yeah, I said, this album can be a bit of a grower. It's definitely like wall of
Definitely a
sound.
grower, yeah.
Yeah, it's overwhelming when you are first listening to it, just because it's so dynamic. It's like dynamic almost to a fault. I don't think it's to a fault, but I could see how you would think it's potentially to a fault just because
Yeah.
it's so much to digest. And they don't give you a ton of choruses or repetition in general to cling to.
Yeah.
But
The
I
dancing that line, right? Like we both agreed that it's their dynamicism or whatever the right word for that is like a strength, and like the fact that they do so little traditional like choruses and melody is like a strength. But like, could they have done 5% more of it or 10% more of it, and it still would have been such a strength? Probably, yeah. And it just would have given like a few more moments
right
that like stuck in your head early on, because that, yeah, like I think it took me, and this is the way I digest music, and everybody's gonna be different, but I could just see there be listeners who like never get there on this album.
Yeah, exactly.
That are in a similar position to me of like, I don't ever get quite this heavy, right? Like if you always listen to this type of stuff, you're gonna get there on this album. But like if you're someone who like hasn't quite dabbled in this, and you give it a try, and you give it 5 listens, and you're still just like, I can't remember any part of the album after 5 listens. Like that was probably actually true for me. The parts of the album that I would have remembered after 5 listens was like Sit and Mourn, Moss Covers All.
Yeah.
And like the Blinding Faith ending, and the Slaughterhouse 2 ending.
Sure. Yeah. No, totally get that. Yeah. If I could tweak it, 5%, whatever, 5%, 10%, whatever it is. Yeah, maybe another chorus or two somewhere in there, or just some kind of repetition, even if it's not a proper chorus. But and also just like, and maybe that repetition could be this, which is just like a couple more melodic guitar parts.
Right.
Yeah. I could stand for it just because
like, I love that. So
man, when they do it, it's so effective, and so they clearly are capable of it. So it's like, yeah, I could stand for just like a couple more of those parts sprinkled in. Would have been nice, but minor gripes. Yeah, and just to go back to your point about the weaknesses of the one trick pony. Yeah, it's interesting because I very firmly think like once you get into it, even though all the songs are the same mood pretty much, and it varies from a little bit from anger to depression to it does vary here and there, but it is in the same realm of the same mood, but I don't think all the songs sound the same, like but
I don't either. I would say I think most of them sound quite similar. Again, yeah. If I'm that analysis is approaching it from like how I would have stated it when I was like 5-6 listens in, which is like enough to have like anybody would admit that's honestly giving it a chance. Right. And like at that point in time, like I was hacking and my voice is getting towards its wit's end here. So
okay.
But as you could probably have been able to tell, but yeah, like Sit and Mourn, Moss Covers All, Take Me Home. I definitely like those were moments that caught my attention early on. But like otherwise, the other 2 parts of the album, right? Like it's like the parts leading up to Moss Covers All, Take Me Home, and the parts in between.
Right.
I would have been like, I don't really know where the song breaks are. It's all just a lot of similar sounding stuff, and not a lot of melody. Yeah. And like I got through that, and now like I love a lot of it. But I just think it's tricky. I think this is where a lot of like strengths and weaknesses can go hand in hand, and like it can be a thing where like you can't have one thing without the other a lot of the time. And I feel like we're on a similar page where it's like they did it really well, but like the way that they did it well has a version of a limitation like attached to it, and I think that's the accessibility is low, and the like like I think I probably actually, well, no, I wrote this all really recently, but I think like the way this bullet point is written is like exaggerated to make the point,
right,
of like what's more true when you've listened to it less. But like I still think it's like to some degree true, that it's like, okay, yeah, it's still a lot of similar stuff other than like the couple breaks.
And not everyone has, is going to log
25 listens or whatever
on it. Yeah, they might listen to it 3 or 4 times and be like, wow, it all kind of sounds the same. Yeah. So yeah, totally get it. Yeah, and just before we wrap up here, just to go back to your point of like the revisiting it, what kind of mood am I gonna? I totally get that. I'm viewing this album as to compare it to like movies. This would be like this is not a Star Wars or a Lord of the Rings where you like want to keep watching it and it's just fun and it's always gonna make you feel good. It's like I don't know, Donnie Darko, if you've seen that, or just something that's like emotional and intense and thought-provoking. But it's not something you'd want to just like. It's like a beautiful piece of art, but it's not necessarily something that you're gonna just keep.
It's not
at any time you're gonna pull this out. But I think it's like
have its times and spaces, but it's definitely not where this lands on kind of the emotional and combined with the genre, an accessibility spectrum puts it in like a bit of a like, it's you got to be in that specific mood to, or like be looking for us, that kind of intensity level. Certainly. And then you're gonna want to listen to the whole album.
Right. When you're prepared for it mentally, it's like it's great at what it does. It's
But, you're going to start with Suffocate, or if you have the 3 extra minutes, you're going to start with Thirst.
The 3 extra minutes, Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I think I've talked myself into, I'll go first here. I put 3 on here, but after reading my like definitions and thinking I think this is actually like maybe the most I've been convinced, that pasted in well. Wow, I found a character. Normally when I paste it, it like has a gray background or whatever, it looks stupid, but it actually looks like a half star. So I actually feel very firmly convinced that this is a good 3.5 star review, because I think the quality, the review reflects to me a bit of a contrast of like true quality versus like where it fits in my life, and that's like incredibly subjective, right? It's all incredibly subjective, but I think
that's
what I want to call attention to is that like that is a big part of how I like at this point in life like would rate music, is like if I can listen to something I love way more than something else I love, like that is a variable to how I would sort of like rate that product ultimately, rate that like creation. And I think this is like quality level, it's better than like a 3.5 truly, but like I just think right now, and this could change if like if Knocked Loose puts out another album in 2 years, like I will listen to it, and if it's as good as this, I will now have 2 things by them that is that good, and maybe it's like a slightly different emotion, but it just gives me like 2 levers to play with the Knocked Loose thing, and then maybe there's another band that I find that you get me into, or whatever that I find that's similar. Like I could see it over time being like, this fits into what I listen to more often than it does right now, but right now that like limitation kind of pulls it down a half notch.
Totally get that. Yeah. I mean, I could see. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. Like if this was I don't know, some genre that I don't usually mess with, or just some mood that I'm not like. I will admit that like even into adulthood, there's just something about like very dark. I don't even know if dark's the right word. Just very emotional lyrics, whether it be obviously in this case it's angry, it's sad, it's introspective. That like I've always kind of gravitated towards that. It's sometimes there have been moments in my life where it's like it can actually have a negative effect on me because it like
It has for me
I
too.
start leaning into those emotions more. But I feel like as I've aged, that doesn't happen the same way that it used to, but it's still like a way to get in touch with those emotions
Yeah, that's a good
or
way to
like
say it.
and reflect on past times when you had these emotions and stuff like that without necessarily feeling it currently.
Yep.
And I feel like this album that's like where I am at mentally, emotionally with it. Not necessarily that I'm feeling the same way that Brian is feeling on these songs, but maybe at times like the that one mutilation under God or whatever that thinking about Trump, that was a good good way to bring that around. Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah. But yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, this album for me, well, yeah, I guess I can uncover my thing. I gave it 4.
Okay. I was wondering if you
yeah,
4.5 on it.
Well, you know what? So the Era album, I would have given 3.75, and this one I would give 4.25. But we're not doing.
No, that's
so
okay. That's okay.
I rounded that one down, so I rounded this one down too. So yeah, it's borderline. I thought about the 4.5. I'm like, that's really high.
Yeah.
Just trying to think about like all-time albums.
Right,
I'm like,
yeah.
is it a 4.5? But it very well could have been. I think if we were doing 0.25s, it would have been.
And it's new enough. I think it's hard to give.
Yeah, right.
Like I think it's easier to tell what is really that good like multiple years down the road because you just then know like did I actually revisit it and do I revisit it still versus when it's just new. So it's always a bit tough.
I'm definitely got a new band that I'm gonna be following. Yeah, definitely excited to see where they go next. I will say, like, yeah, if you're interested, I mean, by now you're probably ready to listen to something different. But if you're ever,
I do need a heavy music break after this a little bit.
Yeah. But if you're ever interested in more Knocked Loose, there's the Upon Loss singles. It's just 2 songs, and they were released like shortly before this album and were like written around the same time, and they're very much like in the same vein and the same like level of quality. There's 2 songs, Deep in the Willow and Everything is Quiet Now, and they're really good. Yeah, if you ever want something, a couple different songs by Knocked Loose that are like same quality level pretty much, those are really good. There's a really cool video that is just like 7-minute long video that plays through both songs. That's pretty cool. But
yeah, I'm sure I'll check that out. It's not like I'm not gonna listen to any heavy music for like a while or anything. It's more just whatever we review next. I don't want to be, I just put like.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, I'm ready for
plus
something
listens
different
into
too.
metalcore albums for our first 2 reviews, and it's like, okay, I definitely don't want the next like 15 listens through an album for a review to be a heavy music album.
No, I'm excited to have something different.
Yeah,
but yeah, the Upon Lost singles are really cool. I've gone back further than that, and it's like kind of crazy how much the quality dips off. Like they really stepped it up with this one.
Okay.
Even just the recording quality, like it's just crazy. Like,
it's really well.
I don't know if they just got a bigger budget or what for this one, but like it got way better with this album. But they did have like a 5-song EP before this that you could tell they were like headed in this direction.
Okay.
And they've got some cool stuff going on, but it's still not to the same level as this album in my opinion. But it's called A Tear in the Fabric of Life.
Okay.
Or 6 songs, 21 minutes. It's almost as long as this album. Yeah, that one's pretty interesting too. And then I personally wouldn't recommend anything before that.
Okay.
For my personal taste, I've like listened to them once through and was like, maybe I could give this more time, but it feels pretty immature and just in the vein of the Arf Arf breakdown.
Yeah, because this one definitely feels very mature overall.
Yeah, right, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, you want to pick the next album quick?
Oh yeah, let's do it. So
I just shuffled in Every Kingdom by Ben Howard.
Okay.
You haven't really listened to Ben Howard, right?
No, I really haven't. I think you've played it in the background on car rides. That's about it.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure I've like played you a little bit, but you haven't like never. I don't think you like knew him. Okay, I gotta remember where my stupid app is that has that wheel. Where are you?
Yeah, where are we at with options? I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, I You haven't added many. Oh, I wanted to ask you about this. Have you ever listened to 21 Pilots?
I have, but only like their like first album
Vessels.
or their second.
Did you
whatever.
listen
Yeah,
to it
Vessels.
quite a bit though? Do you know?
I listened to Vessels quite a bit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's
Back. I mean, I'm talking like 10 years ago.
okay. Got it.
It's been a while, but I like had songs memorized from it for sure.
Wow, I never knew you liked it that much.
It was like the Lalonde era.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, it was one that I think could be an interesting option. But if we both, I have listened to it as well now, that one album, because I really like the song they put out for the show Arcane. So I was like, wow, that song's so good. I want to like listen to them, but they struck me as a band where I was like, I feel like I should start from the beginning with them. Like they strike me as that kind of band, so I like went back into Vessels. But if we already both knew it well, I don't know. It could still be a fun one. I'll leave it
still could be fun. Yeah.
It's pretty different than the other stuff we have on here. Which for if anything, it's at least a fun like difference. All right.
Yeah, I need to add some more.
Yeah, you haven't added a lot, but that's okay. I mean, you added enough to have the keyword what we need in the keyword.
Right. Yeah.
We haven't been doing enough of it yet for it to matter, but eventually it'll just only be all of my extra ideas down here, except for you. I guess you have the Callous Dow Boys, or however you say that.
Callous Dow Boys. Yeah, it's a play
Boys.
on Dallas.
Oh, I see. Callous.
Yeah.
Wow, that just clicked for me. Okay.
It's a really silly name. Yeah.
Okay, so right now we have Ours and Ghost City are the two that have the highest weight, and then Every Kingdom and Antimai have the like middle weight, and Deep in Bloom and We're Friends each have the lowest. So,
oh man, see, I love this selection. I'm excited because they're all so different from our first two.
Yeah, okay, so I gotta do this stupid thing here. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see how this looks. Okay, my camera's out of focus. I wonder how long it's been on. Probably because I'm leaning forward. I'm using my phone. Let's see if I can get it back in focus here. Come on, camera. All right. Here's the wheel. Now I'll go spin, and I'll watch it on my.
All right.
Oh, which one did it get? When We Were Friends. Okay, I almost went to Antima. I was like so close. Okay, so we're doing When We Were Friends. Okay,
got a small one.
This is gonna be a
one pointer.
Change up, but I'm excited. It's gonna be fun.
Cool. All right. I feel like
you're gonna like this one, dude.
I think you might have showed me like a song.
No, I played it at one of the sleepovers, like at this point, probably over a year ago. It was like not one of the recent ones.
Okay.
I played it in the background with like Nick and Michael and you. And like a couple times you were like, "Oh, this is cool." I was like, "Yeah, you're gonna enjoy it." I mean, I not to say it's gonna be like 5-star rating, but like there's definitely stuff that I know is up your alley, so it's gonna be fun. And I haven't really like listened to it that much lately, honestly. So forced me to. It's good summer music, so get ready to want to put your windows down.
Hell yeah. It'd be a good contrast to Knocked Loose. Thanks for coming on that journey with me. I'm glad
I'm glad we did it. Yeah, it's funny to do it right after Era, but that was really enjoyable. And like I said, I'm really glad I listened to it. It's definitely going to be an album I revisit at some point in some capacity, but it will be a little bit of a interesting to seeing when and how often that actually happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, I think we'll sign off the stream here. So thanks all for following along, and we'll be back to review When We Were Friends by the Backseat Lovers. Peace.